Today I'm going to be doing a thorough review and demonstration of the Caydo 4-needle manual I-cord machine. First of all, a disclaimer: I am an affiliate of Caydo, but I will only ever recommend products that I have tested and that I believe the quality is good. So let's start by looking at what you get in the basic kit. You get the machine, 10 weights and the box to hold the weights, the clamp for clamping the machine onto the table, a needle, a crochet locker hook, 6 spare needles, a screwdriver, 2 cleaning cloths, and the manual. And to this kit I would add an old paintbrush, and I'll show you what that's for later on, and a clothes peg. Let's have a quick look at what's in the instruction book. We have all the information about the machine, what you get and everything. Some really good information about which yarns will work and that you should use with the machine, and ones that you shouldn't use with the machine. How to actually use it, how to adjust the weight clip. Now it is missing information on how many weights you should use for different types of yarn, but I'll talk about that later. And finally, how to finish off your cord and a troubleshooting guide. And it also has a QR code to go to their YouTube channel for more information on adding beads, changing needles, maintaining the machine, and all that sort of thing. Let's start by having a look at what kinds of yarns you can use in this machine. Now, we've already seen in the instruction book that they do go through in quite detail of which yarns will work and which won't, but I'll give you just a quick review of some of the yarns that I found did and didn't work. So here we have an ordinary DK weight wool. I found that works fine, either single or double. Tapestry wools, they also work fine, either single or double. They pretty much are a DK weight wool anyway. And this kind of ribbon yarn, which I was surprised worked, but what you'll find in this particular yarn is that it's a very firmly woven ribbon. It's not loose like the yarns that I'm about to show you that didn't work. Here are 2 yarns that did not work, and what you'll see about these is that they're quite loose and that it's very easy for the needles to have poked through, and they'll catch on the machine. So you don't want to be using those. They won't knit and they will break your needles. This ribbon is also very easy to poke through. It's not a firmly woven ribbon at all. It's actually loose threads across with just a couple of lines of stitching holding them together. So that's another yarn that you won't want to attempt to use. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of how to use the machine, and also why I included a paintbrush and a clothes peg in my little kit. Now, before we thread the machine, we're going to thread the yarn through the guide hole at the back. So we've threaded our yarn through the guide hole, and now we're going to thread it into the end of the crochet hook, down into the machine, and out the bottom. Before we add the weight clip, we're going to start knitting a couple of rounds just to make sure that everything is working properly. And so open all of the latches, make sure that they're all down. Start winding. We're going to catch one hook, miss one hook, catch one hook, and miss one hook. And now we're going to grab the yarn underneath and pull it down, and you want to make sure that the yarn is underneath those latches to start with on the first hook. So we're going to go around, we're pulling down underneath. going to knit that first stitch under the second hook, knit the next stitch under the final hook, and now we're going to knit one round or two just to make sure. Now we're going to add the weight clip to the end of the yarn. Press down, thread your yarn through and let go. And if that doesn't grab on, remove some of the weights. Now you want to make sure that your weight clip is hanging freely and that it's not going to get caught on the clamp. And now you can continue knitting, making sure that you've got plenty of thread pulled out from the ball of yarn so that it doesn't cause tight stitches. Now I'll reveal what I use that little laundry clip for. When you've knit lots of cord, you're going to need to wind it up so that it doesn't hit the floor. And I use the little peg just to stop it from unwinding. Now we've seen why I added a peg to my little kit. Here's why I added a paintbrush. You get a little bit of fluff inside the machine and it's good to clean it out now and again. I use an old paintbrush to clean the fluff out of my sewing machine, so I thought, why not try it with this? And it works pretty well. Let's have a look at some of the test knitting that I did on the machine over the past week. First of all, I tried some DK weight wool. This is a needlepoint wool. And I tested it with different weights in the machine. I found with all of the weights in the little weight box, it looks pretty good. But if you want the stitches themselves to look smaller, you can remove some of the weights, which I started doing up here. And it makes the stitches look a little smaller. Removing even more weights will make them even smaller. So depending on the look that you want, you can change the size of the stitches by adding or removing weights. Here's an Australian 8-ply or DK weight wool. The machine does come with a test skein of yarn, but it's acrylic, so I didn't try that as I'm allergic to acrylic. So here's a single strand of 8-ply or DK weight wool, which is very nice. It's very bendy. Really good. If you want something a bit firmer, say you're making a rug like the one that I have on the floor, this is 2 strands together. Now you definitely need all of the weights to knit this and to go a little bit slow. And that's good for rugs or baskets, anything like that, that needs a bit of a firmer cord. I tried a cotton needlepoint yarn, which is, I would say, the equivalent of a fingering weight yarn or Australian 4-ply, something like a sock yarn, but this is cotton. And I put little beads on, and Caydo have a video showing you how to do that. What I like about the manual machine above the electric one, which is really great if you want to knit a lot of cord, but with the manual one you can put add-ins like this. This would be cute if you joined it as a pendant, or you can make a longer piece with more beads as a bracelet. I think that would look nice as well. Here's a piece of cord knit with that ribbon yarn that I told you I was surprised that worked. You definitely need all of the weights for this one. It was a bit tough to knit. I think it might damage the needles if you did a lot of it. After trying the needlepoint cottons single, I plaited some together. I thought that looked quite nice. And then I tried them double, which I think with 2 colours that are similar, looks really nice. I thought these 2 cords would look quite nice like that. Maybe as a bracelet. If you made them long enough, you could even make a belt and just tie the ends together. Here I have 2 strands of a fingering weight knitting cotton used together. And what you want in the quality of a cotton yarn, and this is the same as the needlepoint cotton, is you want something with a nice firm twist to it. You don't want something, again, that you can stick a needle through very easily that's very softly twisted. If it's very softly twisted, it can break, it can get stuck in the needles of the machine. So something that's nice and firm. The final test that I did was to knit around a cord. So this is just a simple soft cord. I think it's used to make piping for sewing. And with a single strand, I found that you could see the cord inside, so it's probably more suitable for if you were covering it with a white yarn. However, if you use 2 strands of a DK weight yarn to cover the cord, it's very firm, and that would be really good for making trivet, coasters, anything where you really want to protect the table from any heat. That is a great choice. And here is the cord itself. And I'll give you a little demonstration of how I knit over that cord using the machine. So here we'll have the machine still set up from knitting our little bit of purple cord earlier. And what you want to do is just poke the cord down the middle. I would normally do this from the very beginning. And knit away, holding the cord straight up so that it doesn't get caught under the needles. And as you knit, I'm trying to do this around the camera at the moment. As you knit, it's going to cover the cord. You'll need to untwist it a little as you go. And that cord will feed in as you knit. It is slower, but that's very firmly in there now, and that's how you knit a covered cord. My final views on the machine, I really like it. I think having the larger needles as opposed to the small needles on most other machines gives you a lot of range of new yarns that you can use that you haven't been able to use on this style of machine before. I think giving you the extra needles is a really good choice. It gives you a chance to experiment with things that might not work and not worry about breaking the machine, because if you break a needle or damage a needle, you've got 6 more to replace it with. And since you can take the machine apart to replace the needles, you can also oil it, maintain it, remove any fluff that might get in there. And I think that's a really good feature for it to have. I found that the only piece of information that was missing as I was learning to use the machine was how many weights to use with each type of yarn. And I'll give you that information probably under the video. I've mentioned it throughout, but I'll give you something that you can copy, write down, that you can keep for later. And now I think I might try and see if I can knit wire on this thing. I've got some 0.2mm wire. I'll try it out and let you know in future. If you'd like to buy one of these machines, I do thoroughly recommend them. I do honestly think they're very good quality. I'll give you a link under the video or one on my blog if you're watching this video in the review that I put on the Knitting-and.com blog. And I'll get back to you and tell you if knitting wire worked.